Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Now this is going to be my kind of walkthrough or playthrough of tanking on High King Moulgar in TBC. Now this is the beta that we're in right now. Jesus, 4600 Starfire crit there. We're in the beta here, so Gruul just came out today. We did this earlier with Svan and Asmon's group on Alliance side, and so now we're on Horde side. Doing it over here. Now I felt like this was worthy of making a video, not going over this whole instance, but specifically if you guys are playing balanced druids and you're responsible for tanking, exactly how and why this mechanic is the way it is and what you should do and just to be aware of. Now the only real form of mitigation we have in this situation is Bark Skin. Bark Skin is going to reduce all damage we take in TBC by 20%. I believe in Classic it's physical damage only. So this does help mitigate our damage. You also want to be using this in the opener to avoid any knockback on any of your abilities, just to be able to maintain threat as much as possible. So you'll see we basically start off with a Moonfire to make sure we get that initial aggro, and then we basically Bark Skin and start casting. One other thing to be aware of, generally you're going to get salve from your pallies. You want to go ahead and right click that off because you do not want salve on this fight. Your goal is to maintain threat as much as possible on this one mob. As you start DPSing the mobs later on in the fight, threat shouldn't be too much of an issue because you haven't had any uptime on the other mobs. Oh shit, literally trashed Spike. Oh gosh. So threat shouldn't be too much of an issue later on in the fight, so it shouldn't be too problematic. So just be aware of that though, that you should not have salve. So okay, or no one kicked that, I guess. I'm gonna go ahead and dot this guy up. Oh no, we might pull. Nice. So we actually, so far it feels like balance is actually feeling pretty solid. I'm curious to see how we scale into the later gearing of this game. Mana doesn't seem to be too terrible. I don't think it definitely feels way better than Classic for sure. And downranking still seems to exist. And I'm going to make a bunch of videos on all of that stuff. So overall, balance does feel like it's in a pretty decent spot. Overall, it's pretty enjoyable to play in a raid environment. It seems like we can weave in a little more like Moonfires, and you have Insect Swarm also at your disposal to have some kind of DPS you can throw out if there's mobility in fights and you need to be moving. I don't know, and I think Moonfire will be a DPS gain if you use it on cooldown. I don't think Insect Swarm will be. I haven't tested this very much yet, but just based on the raw numbers. But you'll see like in this situation, I do keep it up virtually 100% of the time on the target that I'm tanking, just to help ensure that I have kind of that consistent threat output. As once Bark Skin falls off, we do have a little bit higher chance of, you know, getting spell knockback and having kind of a window of time where we don't have any threat if we don't have our dots up. One other thing worth mentioning is Celestial Focus is kind of significant on this fight because once you don't have Bark Skin up, you can basically just be spamming Wrath and potentially like using Moonfire to bait out like Nature's Grace proc, and then like when you know you have a Nature's Grace proc, use your Starfire, and then outside of that, just go ahead and spam Wrath because of this 70% spell knockback resistance. That'll allow you to keep a pretty solid threat lead for virtually the whole fight. Healer shouldn't pull off of you or anything like that. So when Bark Skin's up, Starfire is fine. Outside of that, I would probably recommend you want to cast Wrath most of the time, just so that you have that consistent damage output on the target. Now, the reason that we are tanking this is that Moonkin form, you can see the top line there, makes us immune to polymorphs. This mob will polymorph who it has aggro on sporadically. So if you're a paladin, you run up and tank this, you might generate fine threat in the opener, but as soon as he polys you, either a healer has to run up and try and dispel you. I believe it completely drops threat. If not, it runs wild, at least while you're polymorphed. Point being is that this is not an ad that's feasible to be tanked by a normal tank. It has to either be a bear tank and or a Moonkin tank. But I think the reason that you want to have a ranged tank is that if you're at ranged, all it does is cast lightning bolts, and I think it does way less damage than if you're in melee. I think it will also melee you and stuff, but I don't know that for certain. Point being is it's very common to have a balanced druid tank this, and you can also have hunters do it as well, where you have like 2 hunters and they kind of like swap back and forth. But it's a lot easier if you just have one balanced druid. You can basically just solo tank this the whole time. You have one healer just throw you a heal, you know, every 5 or 6 seconds, and you're fine. It's really easy. You guys will be able to see here. Now this mage is going to cast the pyro here. You can tell none of us are in comms, so this is a little bit of a YOLO situation. But once the mage pulls, we're going to go ahead and trinket. I'm going to go ahead and moonfire right off the bat, bark skin, and then we're going to go into starfire spam. Now this should allow us to get a pretty good threat lead with that bark skin. I'm going to cast one more starfire just to make sure we get that threat lead. Big damage there. I'm also going to go ahead and cast trees. I don't think the trees have any relevance to our threat table, but anyway, it's worth throwing them out there. Cast trinket again. Now we're going to go ahead and just spam wrath here. Now we pop bloodlust, keep my dots up, and then we're going to go ahead and just keep wrath spamming here so that we just have that consistency. I'm also going to pop a mana potion right here. Go ahead and dot up this guy too. But you can see we're maintaining threat this whole time. Oh, why is my... Okay, there it goes. Spam that a bunch of times. I don't know why my potion didn't go off. This hunter he's been on my target a few times. I think he's on my target distracting shot. I don't know. That's happened a couple times. But it's okay. We end up maintaining aggro for the most part of this fight. Pretty easily. Now, big damage there. Now this mage needs to spell steal that. He did. Go ahead and we should be good. I'm not even going to moonfire that because we already got the Nature's Grace proc. Now one thing I want to show you guys as well is when we're going to rank 1. I'm going to rank 1 Starfire here. And you can see how much damage rank 1 is hitting for. 1648. Now I have Trinket on right now. But you can see 3,700, almost 3,800 Starfire. Rank 1. Again, this costs 86 mana. 86 mana. So I don't know how integral this is going to be to our rotation. But it seems like how we had in Classic with rank 1 not giving us a very significant DPS loss, and the ratio basically between the DPS loss versus the mana saved is astronomical. It basically, I mean, it costs 86 mana, so you basically are generating as much mana as rank 1 costs while you're casting it. I mean, it's just while you're in combat, you don't run out of mana. So I could see a scenario where it makes sense to downrank and 100% uptime on Moonfire potentially being the play. We'll have to see. We'll end up testing a lot of that stuff to see, you know, what ends up happening and what ends up being optimal. Nice. Got some good lead. Hopefully we get those shoulders, man. Ran this earlier, not a single piece of the tier tokens dropped. Point being though, it's pretty straightforward when you are the Moonkin tank. You just want to go ahead and stand on the far side of the map here, or the room, I guess you would say. Wait and let the other guys pull your target off of them. Generally with a Moonfire off the bat should be more than enough, and you just kind of maintain that threat just via hard casting, have a healer assigned to you. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy, and you guys should be able to one-shot this boss. No problem. Let me know down below, like always, if you have any questions. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. I do appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.